Hello, welcome to another workshop video. So after the fun of the intercooler build, it's time to tidy up the mess that's made, or I've made, and move on. So I'm now painting, or preparing to paint the, I guess you'd call it the slam panel. This is the bit that sits in front of the bonnet. You can't really see this edge of it, but when you open the bonnet you'll see that panel, so I want that to be fairly good looking really. And now I've gone to all the effort of making the pipes look all nice and everything, so I'm going to blend it in to, I'm not going to go too far down there because it's going to get tricky, but I'm just going to blend it into here, around about there, and then basically repair these little nip marks that we've got in here, repair some of the damage that I made putting the holes in for the intercooler. Just skim that panel there. Going to prime it with a 2K primer that I use now, which I really like, which is this high build U-Pole high build primer. Been using this quite a lot now actually, and it's a really good product. Hides a multitudes of sins and doesn't shrink or anything like that. Dries really quickly. It's a nice bit of kit, and it's not expensive either, so that's recommended. Prime it. Probably not going to prime the whole thing, just basically spot prime the damaged filler bits, and then obviously base coat, and then the clear coat, and we'll see where we go from there. Good morning. So, got the filler in, just need to get that flattened down, and then we can start getting everything ready for paint. Filler sanded down, and what I'm doing now is I'm just blending into the wing. So I'm down to about 600 grit now, and that's more than good enough for priming. Some of you might be asking why I'm doing this wet sanding. Main reason is I can't really get my sanding tool into these sort of corners and things like that, so it's got to be done really by hand with just wet and dry paper. But wet or dry really clogs horribly if you leave it dry, and it's much easier just to do it wet. I've never had any problems with filler or primer blistering after getting wet into it, as long as it's done, not left soaking in water for days and days. 20-30 minutes sand with water usually works out absolutely fine with no issues at all. So I'm doing it wet. It just helps me to feel where the contours are as well, and get those absolutely right and feathered in. I think often if you do things dry, you miss, because of the dust, it leads you to thinking that everything's flat, perfectly flat, but it's not. It's sometimes you miss sort of raised edges on filler and stuff. So that's why I do it wet. Say if I was doing a big large panel like the wing, like this one, which I'll have to do, and that hopefully will be the subject of another video, I'll get the sander out for that and do that dry, certainly for the areas that I want to flatten back the clear coat. Anyway, so what I'm doing here is I'm trying to decide the exact point now that I blend the clear coat. So the idea is to prime the fillered spots, then colour coat this whole panel, so with the colour layer, and then basically we've got to blend the clear coat into the existing wing. So the way to do that is I'll basically sand down with something like 1200 into around about there. So incredibly fine, 1200, and same here. And then that basically will be rough enough to take the paint, to take the clear coat, but also fine enough a grit that I can polish it back out. So the idea is you then blend it, and I've got this stuff here, which is a wonderful product, if I can find it. This is a U-Pol Blend 9 fade out thinners used in the smart repair trade for exactly this purpose. So basically it softens the edge of the, rather than spraying up to a hard line on the clear coat where it'll be obvious where I've sprayed, this basically softens that line and melts it in. So basically you get a nice seamless blend, and then basically it'll be polished out, and you hopefully won't notice it too much. I'm sure it won't be completely invisible, but good enough certainly for an engine bay, which is basically what I'm attempting to do here. So it's not a 100% job on this one, it's just making it much more presentable for when the bonnet's up. Say when I get into the respraying the wing again, which I damaged, you can see there, you'll see a much more careful job, not using blending, but actually blending colour rather than blending the clear coat. So let's crack on. So let's get that sanded down into about 1200 grit, get this all dried off, and then we should be ready to start masking up. So if you're doing any spraying work, get yourself some of this. This is called masking film. This is Top Gun masking film. Not sure why they're allowed to call it that, but and use that logo, but there you go. It's wonderful stuff because it cuts down the masking time no end. Even better indoors. Not so good outdoors because it blows around like anything, but it's perfect for this if you've got a big enough garage, and I haven't really, but needs must, and I can just about get around the car with a lot of struggle. There we go. So that's the whole car mast, and then it's just a case of cutting out the bit you need. And it's a bit daft really that we only literally need that little tiny bit, but this stuff goes everywhere, and if it settles on paint, fresh paint that has already been painted, it's an absolute bugger to get off. So it's worth the extra time. If you do want to buy some of that, it's about 30 quid a roll, 30 quid for a, it comes in one of these big things like this, and it does loads of jobs. It'll do, I can't remember how much you get in a roll, but I've had that same roll now for about 6 or 7 cars worth of coverage, and it's still going. So next bit is we're going to cut this out and get it all to reveal the bit that we're going to spray. Put that under there. Let's get on with that. So basically sanded down to around about 600 now. I'm ready for primer, and everything's masked off with the film. Give you a bit of a wider shot there. I've created these two tunnels, which I'm basically gonna, you can see there, I've just left that slightly open either side, and the idea is there that once we get to spray the colour, I don't want a hard line where the colour ends, so the colour's going to gently blend into that tunnel to make a soft edge, and then this will get ripped off and then the clear coat will go further back underneath. But we're all ready to go on the primer now, so let's get that set up. Okay, let's talk about my spray setup for this. So this is the regulator board thing I sort of put together. Really budget, really. It's just that's a standard sort of spray regulator. See the pressure there, I've got that set at, so that's running 3 bar, and then we've got the pressure coming in from the compressor, and that's set on about 5 bar, and then basically we've got a couple of simple, there's a water trap there, first water trap shut off, that's the sort of gauge pressure, and the compressor, and we've got a couple of air filters as well, and there's also an air filter in there. So this has worked really well for keeping water out of the jobs, and also oil as well. I don't seem to get any problems with that, so that's a really nice simple setup. Could be a lot more sophisticated than that, but that does what I need it to do. And then basically that's plumbed from there down a air hose. I'll come back to the gun in a minute. Let's put that over there, and then we follow the line of the air hose down from the garage, plumbed into there. This is a Keter outdoor storage bin, and then basically inside is my Draper compressor. Let's give you a shot of that. So we've got a 100 litre compressor, nearly 3 horsepower, I think. You see the specs on there. It's 100 litres. Oh, that's not good. Lid dropped on me. Yeah, 10.2 CFM. It's about the biggest thing you can get on domestic power supply. And it does the job really nicely. There we go. Let's back into there. And then spray gun wise, I've got a bit of a choice, all budget stuff, but for this job I'm going to be using this, the A&I R150, which is a sort of typical spot repair gun. Nice quality gun, that one. Got some thinners in there at the moment. Fans set nice and thin for this job. So the idea here is this has got a 1mm fluid cap, which isn't ideal for primer, but because I'm doing little spot repairs here, I'm just going to be covering those fillered areas with primer. This is just going to be perfect for the job because I don't really want a massive fan that's going to cover the whole job with primer. I've got a couple of other guns there which I use for bigger jobs. We'll come on to those, I'm sure, in a later video, but this is the one I'm going to be using for everything today because it's just small and it's perfect for these sort of spot repair type jobs, and gives it really great finish for the top coat as well, for the clear coat. So let's get the primer mixed. Okay, so here's the primer. This is a 2K primer, so you have to be careful what you're doing with this stuff because it's obviously got isocyanates in, so you don't want to be breathing this in. But so this is U-Pol high build primer. Give a little bit of mix, and it mixes in a ratio of 4:1. So you can see that's the hardener, and I've got my graduated measuring cup there, so I just need a tiny amount for this job. So all I really want to do is just fill that up to the first line there, because that's all I need. So nice dollop of that. And there's a bit of thinners in there, but that's fine because I want it thinned down anyway to spray it. So okay. And let's just get the cap off this. This is the hardener, and then basically just fill it to that number 1 line. I've gone way over that, but this mixing, it's tiny amount of paint. It doesn't matter. That's way too thick to spray at the moment. It's like dollop, so that won't go through my gun. So I need to thin that down a little bit. It's not much, just a tad. Actually, it's not too bad actually. Just a little bit more thinners, I think. Thinners. Sorry about the haphazard filming, but I'm trying to hold the camera as well as do this, which isn't ideal. But just a little touch, spritz it up a bit. A bit more. Yeah, if you get this too thick, you're just not going to get it through a small gun like mine. So you're better off just thinning it down and then building it up in a small number of large number of coats rather. On a bigger panel, and you just use a bigger primer gun with a much bigger tip. That's it. That's looking much better. Okay, so let's get that. Okay, so I'll have to drop the camera now and get it into the gun. Okay, ready to spray. Hope you can hear me because I've got the mask on, but it's all loaded up. Let's just get that. I think we'll just give the panel a quick wipe down before we go too far forward. You can see that. That's a panel wipe. Dry that up a bit. Okay, you can see the issue here with a small gun. I'll just turn the fan down a little bit. It's struggling to get the primer out. Okay, there you go. So you see the idea. Build that up in small coats, light coats. I'm not too worried about the finish at this stage because it's primer, so it's going to get flatted. But that's the idea. I'll put the camera down now and then we'll see how when it's done. Okay, that's the primer done. Just been speeding up the drying a bit with the hot air gun because it's quite cold today, but a little bit of a reaction on the front bit there, but hopefully I can sand that back and get that out of it. But must have been a bit of silicone or something on there, but hopefully we can restore that. But that's looking okay. So next step is just to let that flash off, let it cure, and then we'll get that rubbed down ready for colour. Okay, so that's all cured off. What I've done is taken that down now to 600 grit. Basically sanded all the primer, cleaned it all off, and we're ready to start with colour. So the idea being obviously to cover up all the grey bits, get a nice even colour, get a fade into that tunnel, so we can then blend into the existing colour. And that's it. So this is the colour, absolutely gorgeous Cooper Green Metallic from New Again Paints. I've been using this company now for quite a few jobs now on various cars, and it's always good. Comes ready for use, RFU, and that should just about go through the gun straight like that. It might need a tiny bit of thinners, but we'll see how we go. Usually I put a tiny touch in usually, but might just give it a go as it is. Same gun again. We're going to put it through the A&I R150 because it's just quite a small job. so we don't need a particularly big coverage area. I'll probably open the fan right up on this one to get a nice even coverage. All right, let's get it in the gun. Shinier than I remember from doing the same paint I used last time. I wonder if I changed the formula at new again, because it's not used to base coat coming out that shiny, which is a bit disconcerting. But I'm also seeing quite a lot of bits in it, which isn't great, but I guess it's just come up off the general surroundings of my garage. But again, not too worried about that on this type of job, because it's not going to be really seen much really. It's just to make it look a bit more presentable under the bonnet. But I think once the clear coat's on there, I think we should be fine. So let's get that mixed up and get it finished. Okay, this is the clear coat, Chimaera HS Clear 0200, and it's mixed with a MS Hardener 8000, extra fast hardener. Again, sorry about the sound quality, I've got my mask on because this stuff's nasty. There we go, ready to go. Let's get going. Job is done, and it's come out rather well actually, and quite a few bits in it, but we can look at that in maybe the next episode, how to tackle that. So we'll leave it there for this one, and what we'll do is rip off all the masking and get it polished up and refit all the intercooler pipework. So that's it. So hopefully that's useful, maybe give you some inspiration to tackle the paintwork on your own car. As ever, like, subscribe, comment below, and let me know what you think about all this, and we'll hopefully see you on the next one. Cheers.